Francis Bacon was known for his morbid and bleak paintings throughout his troubled life. His paintings violently assault the viewer's senses with a mix of distortion and anguish. His works are very much a visceral experience, but there's more behind them than the evocative nature of his work. If we look at one of the first paintings that really garnered him attention, which would be the crucifix, allows us to gain insight into Francis Bacon's worldview. Francis Bacon said the crucifixion was a way of allowing the expression of extreme human conditions. The raw and cold interpretation of the crucifix is more of a symbol of human suffering itself. The crucifix is commonly associated with Jesus Christ, obviously, but in this painting there appears to be a barren, almost bony structure left in its wake. This reflects his agnostic or atheistic view of the world and a cruel universe. You've probably noticed in many of his paintings that he would include things that looked like animal carcasses and hanging pieces of meat. He did often say he had an interest in slaughterhouse images because it was yet another way of exploring the harsh human conditions. Slaughterhouses are generally moved out of the public eye, or else we'd have to acknowledge the amount of cruelty and violence that goes into our food. This is a reflection of human nature. We want to throw any evidence of bleak aspects of life itself under the rug so it doesn't cause us direct harm. Let's take a look at his Screaming Pope paintings. One of the key attributes of his work tended to be the agonized faces of his subjects. This is based off of the painting done for Pope Innocent X. The Screaming Pope is another example of how Francis Bacon would frequently take traditional religious iconography and strip it of its initial meaning. In the Screaming Pope, he looks absolutely mortified and in pain as opposed to his confident demeanor in the original painting. Consider the fact that Bacon was a gay man. I kind of think this is a way of stripping the Pope of his power and authority. It's like the Pope himself is being drained of his own power as it fades into the background. Around these popes also appears to be some type of restraining cubes or other things, which makes them appear even more disempowered. Francis Bacon often said that his paintings were not political, but I can't help but to feel like he put his own negative feelings towards the church in this painting, whether it was a conscious act or not. The painting itself is like an evolution of Edvard Munch's infamous Scream painting. The agony is expressed even more vividly by the distortion that he applies to the Pope. It's like they're totally and completely lost in anguish. Hello folks, if you're enjoying this video, it would be a great help if you considered becoming a channel member. Tier 1 only starts at 99 cents, and you'll be able to get a couple perks like getting early access to my regular videos. Thank you. The last one that I wanted to touch upon was his triptych piece called The Three Studies for Figures at the Base of a Crucifixion, or The Three Studies. This painting is also based off the Furies, which are from Greek mythology. They were three goddesses of vengeance, and that perfectly aligns with Francis Bacon's artwork. One thing that he would try to do is avoid a narrative in his art, so rather than directly draw the Furies, he touched them in his own unique style. It's important to note that this was made during World War II, and I feel like the carnage of the war was heavily inspirational on these paintings. The creatures on display are malformed and semi-human looking, but not fully there. To me, it resembles a mangled corpse to some degree. The one in the middle, I think, looks like it's reminiscent of a chicken, which would fit in with his view of slaughterhouses. This is an obvious nod to religious triptych altarpieces, but here he uses it as a stark reminder of the brutality and bleakness of our existence. It once again strips the world of mysticism and grounds it in a harsh reality. Another interpretation that I have is since they are furies of vengeance, they become so warped by this to the point that they are mangled and beyond saving. So, it's clear to see, even though most of Francis Bacon's works were very much an emotional process, he clearly put a lot of thought into what he wanted it to be. That's a problem for a lot of people who try to follow in his footsteps if they forget to have the intention behind it. Obviously, he was a troubled man with a lot of issues, but without that, there's no way we would have been able to see this man's harrowing artistic vision.